people who just sit in their car in a parking lot for long periods of time. What are you doing? I used to do that. I would stop at Wendy's or wherever and get a chicken sandwich or something to eat, and there was a side parking lot of an appliance store that the old man who drove the Goodwill van would park for lunch along with maybe another car or two. I would eat, listen to NPR, mess around on Reddit, whatever I could do to enjoy alone time away from work. One day my wife's brother, who doesn't like me, saw me and called my wife and told her that I was on the side of the building hidden and I was with a dark-haired woman. Of course, despite me admitting exactly where I was and completely confused why she was calling me upset, she told me that her brother saw me with the woman. I laughed and thought she was joking. She wasn't. Eventually she figured out her brother was lying and apologized and so on, but still couldn't get over the fact that I ate lunch in a secluded spot and swore nobody else does that. She then got a job where she wanted to get away and would go to a parking lot and eat lunch and admitted that it was really nice and relaxing. Of course, this is just a small example of the bullshit I dealt with during the marriage, and it's no wonder we are divorcing. I also don't eat lunch in parking lots anymore. It's been ruined for me. Nice seeing this at the top. Count me in. This is the reason I like to park on the farish side of the lot, especially if I can flank larger vehicles. I live in the tropics. I actually have a small solar panel on the back seat powering a fan. It's a portable setup I happen to keep in my car. Keeps temps bearable even though I only open the window a crack, otherwise it'd be stifling hot, even in the shade. Even better when it rains actually. Even less of a chance someone might randomly walk past and randomly peek in. My windows aren't tinted heavily, but I do use sunshades. But a curious passerby could still come close to take a look. If you're parked elsewhere instead of at work, gotta be careful to remain inconspicuous. For example, if yours is the only car on the shoulder, it'll stand out like a bonfire. It's also why I don't go for the full black tint, which is illegal anyway. Sunshades block people from seeing anything too, and they're legitimate to use since you have to remove them when driving. I'll also park near a couple other cars. Again, don't stand out being the only car at the other end of the lot. Not much to it tbh. If you really need more, there's always subs like car, van dwellers. Longest I ever was in my car was for a nap. There were also a couple times I had to kill some hours on the clock. Nothing interesting. Also, sitting in your car gets you out of having a break cut short. One place I used to work at, I'd always take my break in the break room. Despite us having posted schedules of when we were supposed to break, the manager would often call for me to help with something while I'm on my break. If I told them I was on my break, they'd be like, "I know you're on a break, but just go back to it once you're done with this." I had enough, so I just went to my car, put on some sports talk radio show, and just ate there. The manager continued to page for me when I wasn't there, and when I returned from lunch I'd always be asked where I was. I had to tell them every time I went out for my break. They know they couldn't do anything about that, but you could tell they were trying to make me feel guilty for taking my only break of the day. They weren't a mean person, but that place was badly understaffed, and I wasn't going to be taken advantage of for the company's issues, all while not even being paid a lot. I remember I would do this specifically to avoid people at this factory I worked at until one day this 19-year-old kid started wanting to be my best friend. All he fucking talked about was how his girlfriend is a bitch and what their latest fight was over. Every day I would try to sneak away as quick as possible to my car to avoid him, and he'd just show right up and hop in the passenger seat for the full 30 minutes. He never stopped speaking even when I gave the clear fake laughs and "yeah, that's crazy man," and I never got rid of him until I quit. I don't want to go into whatever it is yet. My seat is comfy. It's either silent or the radio playing low. Maybe I just want to mentally unwind from a lengthy drive. Maybe I'm not in the headspace to constructively deal with roommate bullshit. Maybe my job is the bullshit. I see people mentioning lunch a lot though, which was relevant to my last job. I had my particular uphill parking space, a model-specific sunshade, full recline saved to memory seat number 3. had a sleep playlist on deck with an old iPod Nano 5 grams, and got a 30-minute nap timer going. It was important for my mental space when my bullshit job was over an hour away and my sleep suffered. All these really make me appreciate one of the good things about my job and my boss. He'll literally sometimes say, "You haven't taken vacation in a long time, have you? You should take some time off. Take a week. Get away, do something else." It's not like it's extra, free vacation. It still comes out of our allotted vacation time. But we have plenty, and he wants to make sure we have a good balance. Not taking vacation in a long time often just means in the last 2-4 months. Selling my house and I had non-stop lookers for 4 days. I took my dog with me in the car, so people can see the house without a dog in it, and so she wouldn't lock in her crate, and be scared with hundreds of strangers coming in and out of her house. This also meant there were very few places I could take her, and it was hot so I couldn't leave her in the car. She and I became car buddies. She found her favorite spot and would curl up there, enjoying the AC and whatever fast food leftovers she would get from me that day. I think she likes Taco Bell the best. It is usually the only place where I'm alone. I live with my child and husband. I work with coworkers. I shop around strangers. Even in restrooms or my own bathroom I'm not truly alone since there is someone at the other side of that door. But when I'm in my car, alone, I'm alone. No one is going to open my door to bother me. My phone can be off and no one can make me turn it on. I'm blissfully sharing time with just myself in those rare moments of solitude. When I was in an abusive, toxic relationship I used to park at the beach on my way home every day just to get some peace and avoid her and reflect on things, trying to collect thoughts that escape me when I'm in the situation. I also had 2 roommates. A couple, where one didn't work and the other worked from home, and they were just always at the house, no matter what. The girl literally never left the house for almost anything, had everything delivered all the time, etc. I would just go on drives sometimes, claiming I had errands to run, but really I just start to lose it when I'm around someone too much. I do community work sometimes too. I don't like to pull up to someone's driveway early because occasionally they'll come out of the house with their kid. You gotta set the expectation that you knock on the door when you're ready at the exact appointment time and no earlier, and they don't come out to you while you might be trying to finish coffee or a text and you don't even have your mask on yet. But I live in a city with shit traffic and I don't like being late either, so I'll sit in the city hall parking lot or Ingles or whatever is around the corner until it's time. Sometimes if I had to travel to another town, I'd schedule 3 or 4 appointments back to back, so I'd just be making one trip, then one of the ones in the middle would cancel and I'd be left with an hour or more gaps between home visits. Other times I'm just sitting in my car because I'm waiting for my kids to finish training, and it's hard to fake being upbeat and social with other parents when you've had a particularly shit day at work. Sometimes if it was in the morning, I would be finishing listening to a song, but if it was summer, I would make sure that my windows were nicer rolled up so my seats would be really nice and hot. I have chronic pain, and the hot seats are something that actually turn into a feature, not a bug, when you have certain body parts that need that heat to make your muscles relax. There aren't a lot of things to appreciate about living in the South, but that is one of them during certain times of the year. Before my husband and I got married, we had only one car, his, and I wasn't an authorized driver on it. I was working at a school doing aftercare and before school care, so like an hour and a half in the mornings and 5 hours in the afternoons. It was financially not viable for him to drive me for my morning shift and drive back home, then come back to get me an hour and a half later, so he would wait in the car during my short morning shift. I'm the parking lot security guard. Yes. They make me use my own vehicle to make patrols. I did this for so many years that I installed 2 TVs in my Jeep, one right below the steering wheel that slides out from under the knee blocker panel, and a smaller one above my sun visor. I had 2 for 2 specific situations, depending where I parked. If I parked facing away from the building, I used the larger, 7-inch screen. TV below the steering wheel so no one could see it. I even made a tinted piece of plastic to lay over the screen so it wouldn't light up the interior of my vehicle at night. The smaller one I used when I was out in the parking lot facing towards the building. I had a little hood on it so that only I could see it. It also had a tinted piece of plastic I put over the screen. I had them both hooked up to separate small toggle switches on my middle console right below where I rested my hand so I could turn it off quickly in case anyone approached. I always loved customizing my goof-off activities like that. Edit. You know what creeped me out? Back when Walmart was open all night and I'd stop in to do my shopping at 2 a.m. All the people hanging out in their parked cars, any time of the year, running heat or AC. Turns out it was Walmart employees on their breaks. Did Walmart stop having break rooms or something? Yeah. It's basically either that I'm building up the energy to go into the store or whatever else I don't want to do when other people are near. I'm waiting for the song to be over, or I'm responding to messages, waiting to get a response on whether they want me to get anything there, and since there's terrible service there and I usually don't feel it when it vibrates when I'm there because there's enough other stuff happening, I wait to see their response first. Okay. So this won't be like the average answer probably, but here is mine. I have a mild case of what we think is agoraphobia, or something like it. Being away from my home gives me a lot of anxiety. The further from home, the worse the stress. If I'm sitting in my car in the parking lot, I am often gathering myself to go inside, gathering myself for the drive home, waiting for meds to kick in so I can go out there and kick butt. I'll admit, I always ignore people waiting for my space because what I'm doing in my car is important to my mental health. They can find another spot or wait. I might be an ass for doing this. Every Sunday I go to the supermarket for the weekly food shop, whilst my wife stays at home with my daughter. I am super prepared. I have a shopping list in order of the items in the shop and never deviate from the list. I can do a full weekly shop in no more than 10 minutes. I then take approx 45 minutes to sit in my car and listen to music my wife hates, or sometimes absolute silence. I'd feel bad, but I let her have hour-long baths. So, once upon a time I was still up at 5 a.m. and ready to go to bed. So I did a quick walk around the block so the dog could pee, and I walked past a parked car, and when I looked inside, I saw my neighbor, sleeping with his head on a pillow on his steering wheel. I thought that was a weird place to sleep, but then I walked around the house and I heard his baby cry from the open window. So I guess the guy just wanted some rest. I hope he and his wife did shifts. I'd think about you guys, but whenever I've been sitting in a parking lot a long time, I'm probably not having the best time. Like being able to afford a takeout plate at a restaurant for the first time in months and scarfing that plate down out of hunger for something real to eat, or the time I drove into town so I'd have cell signal just to hear my boss tell me to wait just a little longer before my layoff goes away and I'll be back to work, or they're just waiting for a drug dealer who's about to pull up. Sometimes I want to leave the house, but I don't want to spend money or social energy at a bar or public place. Sitting in my truck is comfortable and relaxing since I have a stereo, AC/heat, phone charger. I can listen to podcasts, watch movies, or roll down the windows and smoke at my leisure. I won't smoke inside my house. I share my house with a dog and a boyfriend, so sometimes it's my only alone time. Especially if I've bought myself takeout and don't want to be guilted into sharing. Haha. Either I'm early to something, I'm taking a break from the world, or I'm eating. There have been times where I had two obligations with some time in between, so I'd wait in my car until I had to go to the second obligation. A car is a fantastic place to do some reflective thinking and preparation. It's my own personal bubble away from whatever I need to do next. I commonly see people on YouTube ranting about vaccines or socialism or some other similar topic, and for some reason they frequently are recording these rants while sitting in a car. I used to wonder why they didn't do this in their actual homes. It seems easier. Then someone on Reddit explained it to me. Their families are fed up with their bullshit, and so a parked car is the only place private enough to record it, even though it's then intended for public viewing. My wife has a very aggressive and difficult form of breast cancer and has been having problems with recovering from her surgeries. I sometimes just have to sit in my car to get in the right frame of mind to be the husband that I need to be. I love her so much, and I have never been so scared even when I was suffocating and sure that I was going to die. She is my world and I won't ever be me without her. Generally just enjoying being on my own. I never have the house to myself, and no one seems to know how to knock on a door before walking into my bedroom, so I have no privacy either. So I'm savoring the very few moments of not having to answer the "Where are you going? Where have you been? Who was there? What did you do? What did you buy? How was it? What happened? Did you eat out? Is it cold/hot/raining outside?" Had a drinking problem due to being in a relationship that we were both completely miserable in. I would get drunk and not wanna be home, so I'd drive and listen to music, then go to a parking lot close to this park me and my friends would hang out at in high school. I would sit and think about the good times and miss my friends and really wish I could go back. I would sit there for a few hours. I'm out of that relationship and now in a real loving relationship, and we have 2 kids. It's great. When our child was young, getting out of the house of a morning was a chore. I learned that I could bring my makeup with me and take 10 blissful minutes to myself to put on my face before work. I'd stop daily at what I thought was a quiet spot in nature, with lots of trees and vines and plants, until one day a police officer came to see what I was up to. Turns out I was parking daily around 7:30 a.m. right behind an elementary school. They thought I was a non-custodial potential kidnapper, at best. Thank God I'm a middle-aged, non-threatening female who worked as a librarian on a military base and had had a recent background check. Found a better place to park after that. Once in a blue moon I'll be listening to a football, soccer match, and if I drive straight home I'll have to get out of the car and go inside and interact with my partner and children and miss the end. So instead I'll detour and park up somewhere, might even visit a drive-thru if I'm hungry and just chill in the car somewhere, listen to the end of the match and then go home and do the family stuff. It's a little bit of me time. I'm a subcontractor, so if I happen to be working alone that day, for lunch, I'll grab a sub and eat in the truck while watching YouTube videos. One time I had to drop a friend off near my bank around 8 a.m. and needed to deposit my check before heading to work, but the bank didn't open till 9:30, so I pulled into the spot and just took a nap until the bank opened. I didn't even think about how suspicious this looked until the security guard came knocking on my window to see what I was up to. In my sleepy stupor I could barely string a sentence together and just went bank. Money LOL. A coworker of mine arrives at work 2 hours before her shift, which starts at 6 a.m., and just sits there with her truck idling playing on her phone. It annoys the shit out of me, because idling vehicle, I start even earlier unfortunately. If I didn't see this every day it wouldn't annoy me. Also, WHY, nobody wants to ask, or at least, I don't want to ask if anybody asked. I'm not going to ask in case they get mad and I get in shit. Sometimes I drop my wife off somewhere, shopping, a medical appointment, to visit an obnoxious friend, whatever. She is ill and should not drive due to sedation from some of her medications. If I don't want to accompany her I sometimes must hang out somewhere waiting for her phone call to get her and go home, which may be across town or a long drive away. I use my judgment to decide if hanging around locally somewhere for her to finish is better, or if I should just go home, which is my preference. I try to take a book or tablet computer with a book on it so I can find some inconspicuous place to sit and chill, read, waiting for her to call me. Why are you spying on me? Why do you care what I'm doing? Is freedom only free if you give up your privacy? Inquiring minds want to know. usually waiting on my stepdaughter's mother to drop her off or pick her up. We meet in the middle, usually at a set time. For some reason I'm always at least 20 minutes early at the least. Even leaving later I still have to wait. Beats driving the whole 3.5 hours one way to pick her up, so I usually nap or read while waiting.